Welcome to the Sisterhood of Sweat. I have a super special guest today, Chistine St Vil. I'm very excited. I can't wait to tell you about her. Chistine is a wife and a mother of three, speaker, writer, author, and trainer. She is relentless about helping women, particularly moms, take charge of their lives by learning how to feel good without feeling guilty. Through her work with Moms in Charge, Purpose-Driven Media, LLC, PDM was created to teach women entrepreneurs how to successfully leverage social media and blogging to start and or grow their businesses and brand without compromising the relationships that matter to them most. Through her transformational book, Whose Shoes Are You Wearing? 12 Steps to Uncovering the Woman You Really Want to Be, live courses, workshops, and consulting, PDM walks you through discovering and defining your life purpose, as well as making sure your business message aligns with your purpose. Chistine is an instructor in the Steve Harvey Success Institute, and her work has been featured in numerous local and national TV and online media outlets, including VOA, Fox 5, DC, WJLA, News Channel 8, WBAL, WHUR, Madam Noire, is that right?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Huffington Post, Huff Post Live, Black Enterprise, Sirrius XM, amongst others. She received her Bachelor of Science in Biology from Marymount University. Welcome, Chistine, to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Linda. I'm so excited to be here on the Sisterhood of Sweat.
Yay! Do you sweat?
Oh, yes, I do. Actually, I take martial arts. I take Taekwondo with my 3 kids, and we are all one belt away from black belt. So we get a lot of sweat in twice a week.
Oh, I love it. So you guys all do it together?
We do.
That's awesome. So you're close to getting this. So you're going to be lethal?
Yeah. Well, if I need to be.
You can take care of business.
Yes.
I love that.
Yes.
And lovely and lethal.
Exactly. There you go. I'm going to use that one.
It's deceptive. Yeah. Wow. Well, I am so excited today just to dive into, being a mom. And as I was reading your bio and checking out your website, Moms in Charge, one thing that really stuck out to me was how moms can stop feeling guilty and start feeling good. Oh my gosh, because I have the Chick Fit Studio, I have my brand, The Sisterhood of Sweat, my book, my podcast. I'm telling you, this is, if you can tell me the secret today to this question,
yes,
my ladies are going to love you. So how can moms stop the mom guilt and start feeling good?
This is one of my favorite questions to answer. I actually just did a Facebook Live interview with another mompreneur, and we talked about this because I had to learn for myself, even when I started Moms in Charge. And one of the questions that I always ask myself is, one, is what I'm doing in long term to benefit my children, right? To benefit what I'm doing with them, who they are, where they're going, their legacy, right? So oftentimes we're doing these things because we want to create a legacy for our children, for our families. And so what is there to feel guilty about, right? One of the main reasons we feel guilty, at least it was for me, is because we don't set the expectations up front, or we overpromise and we underdeliver. And then we're like, oh my gosh, I couldn't make it. Oh my gosh, I told them I was going to be here. I was going to be at their game. I was going to be over here, and I couldn't do it. So my kids know that if they ask me a question or if they ask me to do something, if I don't give them a yes, then they know it's a maybe and it may not happen. Right. So I try to bring down their expectations, so that if I can't do it, it's not oh my gosh, what's going on? The other thing that I had to start doing was including my kids in my business, showing them what I'm doing, not just saying, oh, mommy's working, mommy has a meeting, mommy has this, but really allowing them to come into what I'm doing, allowing them to see like, okay, when you see these blog posts that mommy's writing and you see that we're going to Disney, it's because of this work that I'm putting in, that you guys are like, why are you still in front of your computer? So that I can give you experiences that you'll remember for a lifetime. So stop allowing yourself to feel guilty for those things that you are even inevitably creating a better life for your kids, for your family, and then just making sure that you set those expectations and you don't try to overpromise and underdeliver.
I love, love, love that. Now, we are all trying to be super women out there. I mean, we think we have to do it all. You can do it all, just not all at once, right?
Yes, that is my favorite line. Like we tend to think that, and honestly, one of the reasons I started Moms in Charge was because when I became a stay-at-home mom, I left my job in 2011 when I was almost 6 months pregnant with my third child. And it was scary. And I was like, what are we doing?
Oh, yeah.
Right. And so, one of the ways that I would connect with the outside world, being, having 3 kids under 3, I would be in Facebook groups with different moms. And the common theme in these groups were moms sharing all of these goals that they had, all of these dreams that they had, and how they had to wait for their kids to start school, finish school, graduate, get married, do all of these things before they can pursue these things. And so even at that time, even though I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, my whole thing was, if God gave you that purpose, if he gave you that thing in you that you want to do, why are you waiting? You can do both. You can be a great mom, a great wife, and still pursue your goals and your dreams. It doesn't have to be one or the other. And so I'm a big component of, yes, you can do it all. You just can't do it all alone. And I never even tried to even now, give the impression that I'm doing it all by myself. Absolutely not. I have a huge village. My husband is my biggest support. He is like, okay, do what you have to do. I travel a lot. My parents generally come and stay here when I'm traveling and help out with the kids. And my husband works at night. So it takes a village like that. That's a saying for a reason. And so, when you have that support and you're not afraid to reach out for it, you can absolutely go after your goals and dreams. You just have to create that strategy and create that support so that you can do that.
Oh, I 100% believe in that. And that's like on my vision board this year. One of the things because I have quite a few lofty goals. One of the things I put on there was teamwork makes the dream work. And I am telling you, since I started hiring a team behind me, I'm like, wow, yes. It's so much easier not being the Lone Ranger.
Yes. And my coach calls it the bottleneck, right? We feel like we're the ones that have to do everything. And so I'm in the same boat as you. I've been, slowly but surely getting people, on my team to help manage and run and execute on certain things so that I'm not always the one that's doing it all, right? Because when we try to do it all, that's when we get overwhelmed. That's when we get frustrated. That's when we're stressed out and we're like, oh my gosh, I can't do this, but it's because we haven't taken the time to take a step back and create that team, create that support that we need.
Yeah, I mean, one morning I can literally remember driving on my way to boot camp. I think I was trying to eat, trying to talk on the phone, trying to listen to I was just doing too much. I was like a scene out of the movie Bad Moms where the spaghetti flies all over. And, I was like, okay, something's got to give here. And that was when I decided I've got to hire some people. I need to have some people helping me. I'm trying to do all this by myself. This is crazy. And now at the beginning of the year, I'm like, now I'm cooking with gas. I'm like, yeah, this is great. Why did I wait so long?
Absolutely. And guess what? It doesn't stop with just the business side. Like sometimes you need support in the house. Like I stopped when we were moving and we had some things that like our kids didn't know we were moving, we were buying a house. And so we, had some things we were trying to do secretively so that we could just surprise them. And so we, we outsourced our laundry. We started getting some help, in the house with housekeeping and things like that. And like, listen, if it's going to save me, 2 days versus this 4 hours, like I'm going to take it. I'm going to take advantage of that. And I'm going to be okay with that. And some mom's like, oh my gosh, I feel like I should be doing everything. Okay. You can, but then when you have that mentality, then you're going to end up feeling that guilt, feeling that pressure, that overwhelm, and like, oh my gosh, I'm not getting where I want to be, but it's because you keep trying to add too much stuff on your plate.
Absolutely. And when I was reading some of your information, one of the things that really struck out, it just really spoke to me, was how in the past in your life, you felt like your life was running you, and you were stuck in that overwhelm, and you were miserable. You felt like, you weren't in charge of your life or your kids or your relationship. What are some tips and strategies for women out there that I'm sure could relate to that, to turn that bus around?
Absolutely. I think that's so important. And that was also like one of the driving forces for me even starting Moms in Charge, because I wasn't in charge of anything. Like you said, like everything felt like it was spiraling out of control. I felt like when I looked in the mirror, I didn't want to be around me. And so I was like, I don't want my kids and my husband to look like, why are you, in here? And so for me, it took one, learning how to say no. So in my book, I have a whole chapter about no is a complete sentence. And I come from a big family. I'm one of 7 kids. There are 13 grandchildren in the family. They're all local. And so there's always something going on. And it got to the point where like, okay, I have my own kids, but I'm feeling guilty about not running around, going to this practice and that game and here and there. And I had to learn how to say no, like even to my parents. And it was like one of the hardest things to do, because I grew up in a household, like my parents are from Uganda, and, I'm first generation American in family. And so, it was, you don't say no. Like, so that whole mentality of not being able to say, no, I can't do it. I started to implement a do nothing weekend, because I was like, I just need to get my life back on track. I just need to put some time back in my own life. And so the do nothing weekend, like I had to have one a month, meaning I'm not adding a game. I'm not adding, if I want to stay home in my pajamas all weekend, that's what I'm going to do. So it was literally.
So that's great.
Yes.
That is good advice too.
Yeah. And sometimes we don't do it. Like we run around and we're trying to figure out why we're stuck. And it's because we keep adding things onto our plate. I had to learn how to take things off of my plate. That meant ministries at church. That meant different things that I was volunteering for, because I knew even when we started homeschooling, I was like, okay, now this is another chunk of time that I need to do, but I can't do that and all of this other things that I was still doing. So when you put something on your plate, you have to evaluate, what are you going to take off, so that you can start to get unstuck and start to feel like your life is not running you and that you're running your life. It's all about creating those priorities and deciding like, what is it that you need to stick to, and what are the things that are important to you and your family.
Yeah, my business coach was like, there's no space for you in here. Where is space for you in here? Yes. And she was so right. So right.
Mm-hmm. And we struggle with that, Linda. We struggle with that. Like I struggled putting that time for me, because I felt like, oh my gosh. And it got to the point I had to have conversations with my husband. Like, listen, I'm just going to, and it would get to the point where we would communicate so often that he just knew the signs, and he just knew, okay, you need to go, just go ahead, take your time, right? And do what you need to do. And I remember my son was like 4 at the time, I think. And I started to talk to him about, okay, mommy's just going to have my mommy break. I'm going to go do my thing. And, I'll be back in a little bit. And it got to the point where every now and again, he would ask me, mommy, are you going to go do your thing? When are you going to do your mommy thing? Like, so like communicating that even with your children, so that they understand that when mommy is taking care of myself, when I have these breaks, then I can be a much better person. I can be happier. I can be present in the moment when I'm with you.
I love that. And it's just so, you gave him clear expectations. Mm-hmm. You made room for yourself. Yep. You learned how not to take everything on and how to say no. My good friend, Dr. Isaiah Hankel, that wrote the book, The Black Hole Focus, and now The Science of Intelligent Achievement, mm-hmm. He says you should say no first. You should say no first, and then you can rethink it if you want to say yes.
Absolutely. And I actually had to start writing, like I even wrote a couple of blog posts about that, and even in my book, because it's not easy, especially when you're not used to saying no. It is so hard to just up and say no. So I gave tips just like that. Like, okay, say no, or say, listen, I'll get back to you on such and such date. So you don't have to say no right away, but then you get back to them with a no. So it gives you a little bit of a buffer where you don't feel like all of a sudden you're like this, right? Because everybody, especially if they're used to you saying yes, especially if they're used to you, you know, being the one that they can count on for everything, it's going to take some retraining. And so I love the quote that we teach people how to treat us, right? And so sometimes we need to retrain people how to treat us once we reclaim, you know, who we are in our time.
I truly do believe that. And also when you first start retraining them, because sometimes you slip.
Yes.
You might waffle, you know, because I think sometimes because we can be soft, we waffle because we want to please. It's a people pleasing thing.
Yes.
When you first start retraining, you have to be prepared that you might get a little guff, like they might buck the system. You have to be firm on your no.
Yes, I absolutely agree. I've seen it. I've dealt with it. And guess what? It's okay. It's okay, because at the end of the day, I have to answer to my own actions. I have to answer to, you know, the purpose that I was put on this earth to create. And when those things don't align with my family and with who I know that I'm supposed to be, then that's where the problem is. So it's okay that you will get some pushback and you'll start to be able to stand firmer in your no.
And you know what you said about alignment? I am such a believer in alignment. In fact, it's weird, but I got the advice from somebody that I was not in alignment with.
Really?
And, I mean, yeah. And so I remember hearing that, and I took it in and I thought, that is so true. Because when you're in alignment, everything flows.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. So you can work out of that. Yes.
You are so right. And that's one of the things that I had to learn as well, was that, you know, those were the triggers for me to know that something was not right, that I was doing too much when I started to get stressed out and overwhelmed easily and easily agitated and all of these things. And it's like, I had to take a step back, like, okay, something is not right. Something is out of alignment. And generally it's because I started to go back in the ways that I was doing, right? Where I was saying yes to people, saying yes to things, saying yes to opportunities that I should have said no to. And sometimes you have to say no to things that look good and that might be good, but they may not be good for this time. And so that's a hard thing to do as well.
Yeah. And I know, like, for this podcast, even if you have certain guests that maybe are going to come on, and they don't right away, I don't let it bother me, because I either kind of decide maybe we're not in alignment, and I've had that happen, or maybe it's just not right for this time. And, or if somebody, for some reason, something happened, they couldn't make it that day, I didn't sit around like complaining or worrying about it. In fact, I went and got an amazing guest for that Monday, you know, and I'm like, I would have never gotten that guest if that wouldn't have happened. Yeah. So I just think learning, you know, how to just trust that, you know, if something doesn't come through, maybe there's a reason.
Yeah, I think that's so important, what you said, just trust. Like, a lot of times we second guess our intuition, and I've done it, I do it, you know, but then, you know, like you said, things happen for a reason. And oftentimes, you know, you may not realize what that reason is until later down the road, but, you know, things happen for a reason. So sometimes they may be frustrated where things don't go the way you had planned, but guess what? Most times there's something better on the other side. And so that's just a lesson that I've had to learn over the last couple of years. Like, okay, just trust that the walk that you're walking, the things that you're doing, you know, are in alignment with what you're supposed to do. And I think that's also like a hard thing to do at times, is to really trust our own gut. But we were given this intuitions for a reason. And so we just have to do better at trusting that.
Yeah, because it can be so sharp, the intuition. So I'm a big believer in 100% trusting your intuition, and then just having faith that everything is working out a certain way for a reason, just like you said. And now that makes me want to dive into way back when you left your corporate career and you started Moms in Charge. I mean, your business is such a great idea. I wish I would have thought. But it is such a great idea. How did you come up with that?
So it's funny because it really came out of a need. And I know like a lot of people, you know, they start their businesses because it's a need they had for themselves. And when I left corporate, I used to work in HR management and I loved what I did. I loved, you know, my job. And so even leaving took a huge leap of faith because again, I was pregnant with number 3 when, you know, my husband and I decided that it was time for me to leave. And so I just remember understanding and hearing that voice that, listen, like you have to have faith, like you just said, and you have to trust that it's going to be okay. And, you know, that was 2011. And so I talked about the Facebook groups that I would be in where, you know, moms were discounting, you know, their goals and their dreams and feeling like they had to choose, you know, their children over their purpose. And, you know, at that time, even though I had no idea. I thought that I was going to go back into some level of corporate, right? But then when I would hear these stories and I would interact with these moms, a part of me was like, I don't think I can go back to that because I want to be able to show my kids that you can be whatever you want to be. You can do whatever you want to do. I wanted to set that example for them. And so, you know, like I said, I needed to take charge at the time. I had just gone through a period of postpartum depression. And, you know, at the time it was like, okay, you need to take control of yourself. You need to learn how to take better care of yourself. You need to understand that when you're not taking care of yourself, you're not taking care of your kids. You're not taking care of your husband. And so Moms in Charge literally just started as a platform for me to empower and inspire. And through that, I've been able to, you know, I had to learn how to use social media to, you know, market my blog. I wanted more than just my mom and my sisters reading my blog. And what more can come out of that? I think I had to get out of my comfort zone. I'm very much an introvert. And so I had to start going to events. I went to blogging conferences. I went to networking events where I met one of my first coaches that really helped to elevate, you know, what I was doing with my business and really build a structure around my business. And so, you know, I was just so grateful that I was like, okay, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing, but I'm just going to take these steps. I'm going to listen to my gut and say, I'm going to go out here. I don't know anybody, but I'm going to go ahead and get uncomfortable and put myself out there. And I think that's one of the biggest things that I've done over the last 6 years and continue to do is getting out of my comfort zone, getting out of my own way. And I've learned that the times that I've stepped out of my comfort zone, those have been the times where I've been afforded some amazing opportunities, or I've been connected to amazing people who have opportunities that they connect me with. And so that has been one of the biggest things, but I didn't realize that was then going to lead me to starting a social media agency. And, you know, I have a team that I run it with now. We manage social media for clients and we help create strategy, but it stemmed from me just loving to be on social media and sharing my life and helping other people and teaching courses online. And it's just, it's amazing what you can do. And, you know, again, it was just, what can I do to empower other moms, but then also set the example for my own children so that they can see their mom and say, oh, well, if she can do it, then I can do it when I grow up too.
Wow, you do. And you do set such a good example. I've seen some pictures too of you with your children on the site doing things with them. And I think one of it looked like you were on TV with one of your children.
Yeah. So they've all actually made a debut. They've all been on segments with me, you know, different segments. And, you know, they get to help me create crafts. Usually it's something, you know, that we have to do. So we get to do that together. I did a segment this morning on Good Morning Washington, and they helped me put those together, you know, put everything together that I needed for the segment. So I just try to bring them in so that they can see what I'm doing. And again, just exposing them and showing them what I'm doing so that they can understand my work and then say, okay, this is what she was working on. This is what she, you know, was putting together. So yeah, they all have done it, and they, you know, they've done a great job.
Well, it teaches them, right? It teaches them by example, but it also creates happiness within the family because you've rid yourself of the mom guilt. You've involved your children in what you do. Yes. And you showed us all that there's so much possibilities out there. Absolutely. If you just believe and go after your dreams. I remember starting my podcast and telling my husband, I'm going to knock this thing out of the park. And and I was just being positive. And I just told him, I just felt like it was something I was supposed to be doing. I wanted to help women. I wanted to help build their confidence, their self-esteem, because I believed that if they had confidence and self-esteem, they wouldn't settle for less in their relationships or their lives. And I just really wanted to help women out there to just realize that they're worthy of more. And so, and building each other up and supporting one another and collaborating together, and, you know, that we don't have to compete with one another, that we can literally rise together. And that was my whole thing, yes. You know, behind strong women empowering, achieving together. Mm-hmm. And so anyway, he's listening to me, you know, and then he listened to my podcast and he's like, wow, this is your thing. He's like, so he gave me a compliment. And then it wasn't too long ago, he was asking me all sorts. He's an engineer, so he was asking me the details of all the, because now it's like, yes, wow.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah. So, you know, you just don't know what could happen out of a heartfelt, a God idea. Because I really learned from Doreen and Tim's story, the difference between a good idea and a God idea. And when you have a God idea, you should run with it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I love, you know, Doreen is who I was talking about in terms of she was the first networking event that I went to that was completely out of my comfort zone. And she had a radical women's conference in the DC area, 500 women. I didn't know anybody. I was like, this is not where I want to be. And when I tell you, it absolutely changed my mindset, my thought process for what was possible for myself. And just to be with so many other women in this, you know, in this room, and just to see the empowerment and to witness it firsthand, it's like you said, you see the difference. And she talked about it then, like, you know, living your life and being unapologetic about what you decide to do. So I love, got to hear Tim's story last year, love the God idea and the good idea, because, you know, when you, again, going back to trusting yourself, right? And trusting that instinct, you know, and the intuition that you have. So I love just, you know, husband support. I love to hear stories about that, because my husband is my biggest cheerleader, and I know I couldn't do half of what I do without him. So.
Well, I won a free ticket to Act Like a Success conference and tickets, and my husband was there with me, and so he was being supportive, and we're sitting in the front row, and Patrice called me out for the whole audience, and I had just sat down. I was embarrassed because I had her book. And I had put it up and pointed at it and taken an Instagram picture and tagged her. And so she remembered me from that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I was there. So that's awesome that you were one of the winners.
Yeah. So anyway, it was kind of funny because I love her book. I loved her on Steve Harvey. And I had wanted to meet her, and there'd been a couple, like, you know, kind of back and forth, kind of, you know, just following along with her book and things. And then I saw the free ticket thing, and I was like, oh, I'll just put in for that. And then when I got it, I was being sort of like skeptical, like, well, you know, they probably want to sell me something. And then I was like, well, maybe I need what they're selling. And I was like, maybe, Linda, if you went there, you might get to meet Patrice and Doreen in person. You know, that might happen.
It might.
Well, of course it did. Yes. And then they both came on my podcast. the rest is history. So I'm just saying, like, you shouldn't sneeze at meetings and little events and heartfelt ideas, and just jump in, I think.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's how I started teaching in the Institute. I mean, before Doreen started working with Steve Harvey, like, she had the Institute and she had asked me, how would you feel, can you put together, some courses around blogging and social media 101 from an entry level? And I had never put together courses before. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, I don't even know the first thing about that. And I literally had to think about it. And I almost said no because I was of that fear. And then I was like, okay, but what if you do it, right? And so I ended up doing it, loving it, started doing more workshops and teaching, and that's how I ended up being one of the instructors in the Act Like a Success Institute. So, like you said,
it's so needed. It's so needed, and I really, really enjoyed the course when you taught, because I'm 55, and I didn't learn the computer at school, okay? I didn't learn social media at school. I had to pick it up, and so I'm hungry for whatever you bring, because I'm like, okay, let's learn about this. This is the wave of the future. We got to be on it,
Yeah. No, I mean, it's been such an amazing experience, and I'm just grateful for it, because had I said no, I would have never discovered that I actually love teaching. I love to teach.
Yeah, and you do a great job, and I feel like, it's something that's needed, is the practical application of, so now what? Like, everything's changed, and advertising is not the same, animal as it used to be,
Nope, not at all. Not at all.
Well, I kind of want to dive into another topic that I kind of touched on a little bit, but since we're here and we're talking about moms today, as moms, we give to our families. We want the best for our kids. We want to be good wives. We want to be good mothers. And like we were talking about, how we don't leave room for ourselves. I find a lot of women really lose themselves. They start to lose their identity. They stop maybe dressing, the way they did before, and just, maybe we're wearing sweats, because it's just easier. So what can we do when we get so wrapped up in our families' lives? How can we kind of reclaim our identity and keep a slice back for ourselves, so to speak?
I love that, because I had to learn how to do that. And again, in finding myself and my identity, I was that mom, like, that went from loving to, get dressed up and look cute and put on makeup, to not doing any of that, wearing my husband's sweat shorts and t-shirts and dropping the kids off at preschool. And it was like, not even spending any time on my appearance and things that I like to do. And that was the first step that I did. I'm like, I liked to, feel good on the outside, because it helped me feel good on the inside. So that was one step that I took, was to just start wearing clothes that fit.
And yes.
So, get away from all of the clothes that didn't fit, aka my husband's clothes that I started wearing, and getting back, I started to figure out what my identity was again, because, working in corporate, I wore suits every day. And so I realized, well, that's not really who I am. So let me start to create and figure out what I like to wear, what my style is. And, not being afraid to, experiment and do different things. But honestly, when I started to do that, it started to do something for me on the inside, because I'm like, oh yeah, I do kind of look cute today. And I think I'm just going to take myself out on a date. I'm going to go ahead and go get myself a cup of coffee and spend some time with myself. But really just not being afraid to do that. Like, going back, like thinking about, and I've done like a Fly Mom challenge several times on the blog, where it's like every day you're writing down or doing something for yourself. And sometimes you have to go back to what you did before you were a mom, what you did before you were a wife, what you did before you had responsibilities. What did you love to do? Like, what were the activities that you love to do? What are some of the things that kind of calm you down, get you in your zen and all of that. So, sometimes it's coloring for some people. Sometimes it's taking a bubble bath. Well, build some time into your schedule to do that. One of the things that I had to learn how to do was put myself on my calendar. As a mompreneur, this, Linda, where you when you have a VIP client, a VIP, customer, you make sure you put that in your calendar. You don't miss that appointment. You do everything in your power to make sure that everything goes well, and on time. And so we have to treat ourselves as our own VIP customer and client. And if that means putting yourself, literally, it's habit now, but I literally had to put myself on my calendar, and whether that was, 15 minutes a day, 30 minutes a day, whatever that looked like, I know that this is a time that I'm spending by myself. And then, creating those boundaries for our children, for our husband, whoever it is, for your family. So my kids, I know a lot of moms struggle with, I can't use the bathroom by myself because my kids just open the door and I can't do. No, my kids know if the door is closed, then you are not allowed to enter. Unless the house is burning down, something is going, this means that mommy is having time to myself. I need this time. So we have to learn how to create these boundaries for our families and really communicate what we need. So often, we're thinking, oh, they should know how I feel. They should know I need some time for myself. They should know because I'm walking around with this attitude and all of this. No, they shouldn't. You should communicate what you need so that you all can be on the same page. And so even now, my husband and I, we have a calendar. Anytime I have meetings, anytime I'm traveling, it goes on a calendar. The kids, activities, it goes on a calendar where we can both see. If he has to work late, he makes sure, or at least most of the times, he makes sure that it's on the calendar. So I know, okay, I can't schedule this because he's not going to be home from work in time. So it really is about communicating what you need so that you can get that time back and really learn how to be still and learn, what it is that you want for yourself, because no one else can really figure that out for you. You have to be able to do that for yourself.
Oh, absolutely. There's so much benefit in setting that time aside. And just like you said, you started dressing, cute, and you started feeling cute, and then your mood is lifted up, and, it benefits your whole entire family because you're happier and you're going to be a whole lot better at being a mother and being a wife and just happier with yourself overall.
Yes, absolutely. And, that whole happy wife, happy life, happy mom, happy, you have, and we can't expect other people or other things to create our happiness. It starts with us, and it starts with us identifying what are the things that are going to make us happy internally so we can do those things and not expecting external factors to create that happiness for us. And that's kind of where we lose that identity, is because we're waiting and waiting and waiting for somebody or something to create this happiness for us. And it's no, you have to figure out what you want for yourself that's going to make you happy.
Yeah. And I think you got to create on that calendar some girl time.
Yes.
Because, with your friends, because as women, when we connect, we secrete oxytocin, which is like the cuddle hormone, but it makes you happy, and it's just this warm, enveloping kind of comfort feeling.
Absolutely. I did that, I think last year for my birthday. I made my own birthday party, invited my closest girlfriends. I gifted them something, but it was just lunch and fun and fellowship and, whatever you have to do. But absolutely, I am so much better when I can just have some girlfriend time and just let your hair out, just have good quality time. But I absolutely agree with that.
Yeah, I think you're going to be a whole lot more productive if you do a lot of the things Chistine has suggested, because you're going to take out some time for yourself. You're going to start investing in yourself, and you're going to take that girl time or go get that hair appointment or those nails done. And pretty soon what you're going to find is you're probably going to be a lot more productive in your regular life and more creative.
Yes, I agree.
And you're going to need what? A planner.
Yes.
A planner, because you need to put it on your calendar. Can you show them? Do you have your planner?
I do.
Yay.
This is the 2018.
Oh, I love it. It's pink.
It is the 2018 Who Shoes Planner.
I want
it is
one.
a planner that I co-authored, co-produced with my sister. So it's an extension of our book that we co-authored in 2014. And we wanted a way for women to, one, get the support. We talked about the importance of support, talked about the importance of accountability. And so we call it the Get It Done Planner, because it literally is going to help you figure out what your priorities are so you can stay focused, take some things off of your plate that don't need to be there, right? So you set up your goals at the beginning of the year. So often we do our vision boards and then we put them up and we don't look at them again ever the whole year.
Yeah.
And then it's like, how do you know what you're working towards, right? So we have a place for you to create your vision board in here, to write down your goals for the year.
Oh, nice.
And then every month, what we do is we have a Get It Done action plan every month. So you're going to write down 3 action steps that you're going to take every single month to align with the goals that you set at the beginning of the year. And then you write down your results. So when you're able to track your progress, track your results, you're able to get things done faster, figure out what works and what doesn't. Every month we have inspirational stories from women who are sharing their challenges, who are sharing their obstacles that they've overcome to achieve the level of success that they've achieved. And we also have a Facebook group. So we have a Facebook group for all of the women who have purchased a planner, where literally we are checking in very frequently, like, okay, so what are you working on this week? Okay, so now we're midweek, how are you doing? And let's celebrate. Like, one of the things that we don't do as women is celebrate ourselves, celebrate our successes. And so with this planner, we have a place every single month where you're not only writing down your successes for the month, but you're also writing down, one, how you're going to celebrate those successes, and also, what you're going to do, right? So, what are those successes and how you're going to celebrate, like holding yourself accountable, putting yourself back on your calendar, right? And so we hold you accountable.
Yeah, put yourself on your to-do list. Right?
Yes. Exactly. So we hold you accountable to celebrate yourself. Like, what are you going to do? For some people, okay, I'm going to go take myself out, on a date. I'm going to go to a movie. I'm going to treat myself. I'm going to, whatever it is, it's so important, because as you start to, work towards your goals, it's so easy to get discouraged because you're feeling like things aren't happening fast enough. But when you use a tool like this planner, where you are tracking everything and you can look back and say, okay, I'm not at level 20 yet, but oh my gosh, I got all the way to level 8. I'm almost halfway there. So as opposed to, feeling like you're not doing anything. So that's what we do with the planner. We actually sold out of our initial run. So they're on back order, but we are processing orders. You can go to whoshoesbook.com/2018 to get the planner. But we're so excited about it, about the stories, about the transformation and the successes that the women who have, purchased the planner for the last few years have been able to achieve. And, we know that accountability is huge, support is huge. And that's why we wanted to create the Facebook group. So it's, sisterhood. So that's why I love what you were doing.
Absolutely.
I was like, oh my gosh, I love what you're doing with the Sisterhood of Sweat, because it is so important to have sisterhood in this journey of life and business, and to have women that you can lean on, that you can share resources with, that you can share challenges with, so that they can share their tips, they can share their resources, right? So, I just I love what you're doing, and I thank you for doing it, because it's so needed.
Well, I got you, girl. I mean, we got each other's backs. That's the whole point of sisterhood, is support, build each other up. Absolutely. That's the kind of people you want to be around, and that's something I can get behind.
Yes.
And I'm really excited that you have a download for us too.
I do.
Because you want to help us knock our goals out of the park and help us get our to-do lists finished.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. And speaking of downloads, your planner also comes with a PDF download. So
nice.
You can get the digital version as well. But I created a free checklist for mompreneurs because oftentimes it's like, okay, where do I start? How do I start? What do I need to do? So it is literally a guide that is going to walk you through what are the top things that you need to put in place so that you can finally stop just writing stuff down, just to write them down, just to move them to the next month, to move them to the next year, right? What are the things that you need to put in place so that you can finally get things done on your list? So it's the 5-step checklist for mompreneurs to finally get things done and to get your fly back. So fly, again, is an acronym for first love yourself, right? So learn how to get your fly back in the process of getting things done.
I love it. I love it. That is just, I mean, that's everything. I can't wait. I'm going to be your first order. I can't wait to get the planner.
Thank you.
I'm serious. First of all, if you haven't noticed, I like pink.
I like
Actually, pink. You don't know I have black on today, but here's my laptop.
I love it. Yes.
Yeah, and my whole book, The Sisterhood of Sweat. I mean, I have a billboard behind me, but you can't see it. But maybe we'll just show you here.
I love
it.
I love it.
Totally. It's pink. I mean, in the lettering is pink. I mean, you know.
We are here, Linda. We are here.
Well, and I'm so happy that you came on today because women are going to get so much out of this, and we're going to get your book too. That's something I would love to.
Thank you. Yes, you can absolutely order the book. The book is available on Amazon as well. And, you know, we're just so excited about just the movement that is created in, you know, the whole finding your shoes. And this is basically what we've been talking about in this podcast is, you know, the need to walk in your shoes that God created for you and not trying to walk in shoes that, you know, you see other people walking in or that you feel like you have to walk in because your mom told you that this is what you needed to do. Right. And so it's all about discovering the shoes, discovering the woman that you were created to be. And so, you know, we're really, really excited and, you know, just blessed and honored with, you know, the people who continue to purchase it and continue to share it and share their transformations with us. Because, you know, when we went into it, it was like, okay, this is not about us. Like, we have to be vulnerable. We have to be transparent because we know that there's other women who are going through similar situations and they don't know how to get out of it. But if we can just say something and share something that can help them to get unstuck, to get out of their overwhelm, to, you know, discover their purpose, then that is literally the best blessing that we could ask for.
Well, I love that because I think a lot of times we're living the life we think we're supposed to live, or that our spouse thinks we're supposed to live, or our friends or our parents. Like, we may be grown adults and we're still worried about living the life that our parents think we should live.
Absolutely.
So I think that's going to be a great book for all of us to dive into. And just one thing I did want to hit on before I let you go, because I know some moms out there have had this, they've had the anxiety, they've had the postpartum depression. You suffered from that at one point. Yeah. What did you do to recognize it, first of all? I mean, that was probably hard, and also to get better.
Yeah, so I think that I didn't recognize it immediately because it didn't look like what most people put out there, or, you know, what you see on TV and films and all of those things. And so, you know, for me, it took a while because I'm like, okay, I started to see changes in myself. I started to feel, you know, just relationships like with my kids wasn't as good, with my husband was a little bit strained, and it was like, okay, what do I need to do? Like, how do I get out of this feeling like I'm not enough, I'm not doing enough, I need to, you know, be here, do that. And then just realizing that I literally just let myself go, you know, someone who took pride in who I was. And not to say that your appearance is everything, but, you know, when you decide that you don't care what you look like, that becomes a problem.
Well, that's an indicator that something's not going on right on the inside, I think.
Absolutely. I 100% agree. And that was, for me, one of the indicators. And so it took a lot of sounds cliche, but soul searching and understanding, okay, what do I need for myself? And having that discussion with my husband to say, okay, once a week, I need this amount of time to go. I felt like when I was working in corporate, when I would go to work, that was kind of like my break. But then becoming a stay-at-home mom, there was no break. I felt like it was on, all the time. And, I didn't make it a priority for myself because I didn't understand that I still needed my time. I wasn't to that. I didn't.
We get too driven.
Yes. Yeah.
I totally can relate. Somebody had to almost force me to go out to eat with them. Yeah. I had a great time, but to get me there, she had to I'm like, well, can we do it close? Do we have to drive that far? Can we she had to pull me. But once I got there, I'm like, oh my God, this is so fun. Why did I even,
Yes. Yeah. So it literally, and like I said, I was coming out of it around the time that I started Moms in Charge. And, I pulled from my own experiences. I pulled from, okay, what is helping me? What are the steps that I'm taking, and just understanding that it may not look like what you think it looks like, but deep down when something is not quite right. So not being afraid to reach out and ask for help, ask for time. If you need to get people there to help support, watch the kids for a couple of hours so that you can half the time I wasn't even doing much. I was just going and sitting in the parking lot or going and, having a coffee or just driving around and that was peace to me. That was because I was able to hear myself think. I wasn't, I was me. And so getting back to who I am, because, my name wasn't always Mom, my name wasn't all these.
Oh, heck yeah, right? Oh my gosh, that should be the name of a book. My name wasn't always Mom.
Right. Yeah. So, it really did take me realizing that I needed to reach out. I needed to take a stand for my own self-care and understand that if I wasn't going to make myself a priority, then I was going to have the relationships that meant the most to me were the relationships that were suffering. And I wasn't going to allow that to continue. So,
it brought you respect, right? You got respect when you respected yourself.
Absolutely.
On all levels, right?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, I just totally want to acknowledge you. You are just everything I think a woman should be. You are beautiful inside and out, just so bubbly and just so full of joy and life that it makes me want to sign up for whatever you're doing. Because you're doing it right.
Thank you so much. I don't even know what to say. I truly, truly appreciate that. And, it's taken me, like I said, some searching in myself to say, okay, and that's always my prayer, in that whatever I do, that, it is helping someone in some way, that it is, never about me, but it's about the purpose that God created me and put me on this earth to do. So I appreciate you for saying.
Well, your light is definitely shining bright, and I'm just so impressed.
Thank you.
Yeah, totally.
Thank you.
What are 3 simple truths you can leave with the audience today?
Ooh, 3 simple truths. That's a good one.
Yeah. They can be funny or, serious, whatever.
So 3 simple truths. Number 1 is that you have to believe in yourself. At the end of the day, no one can believe in you, your product, your service, whatever you have going on, if you don't believe in yourself. And that's definitely something that I've had to, remind myself. Even now, it's like when I'm going after something new, I have to believe it for myself before I put it out there, because it's going to show if you don't. So believe in yourself. Number 2, I would say simple truths is just the whole idea of loving yourself first. And so when I remember, when I first started talking about it, I'm like, no, I can't, other than God, I come before my kids, I come before my husband, and people look at me like, what do you mean? What are you talking about?
They thought you were being selfish, right?
Yes. How dare you say? I'm like, listen, because when I wasn't coming first, then I wasn't a great mom. I wasn't a great wife. And so you have to learn to put yourself first. You have to learn to put yourself first. And we touched on the faith part. Having faith, like, in everything, and it ties into kind of the belief system, but having faith to do the things that you know that you were created to do, and to be unapologetic with where you're going, because there's so many things that can distract you. There's so many things that can pull you away from doing what you're supposed to do. But when you have faith, it doesn't matter when you get the no's, because they will come. It doesn't matter when you get rejected, because that's going to happen multiple times. It doesn't matter if you don't get that client, if you don't get that, that contract. Like, when you have that faith, it allows you to keep going, because you also have to, tying into that, your why. Like, when you understand why you're doing what you're doing, it's so much easier to hold on to that faith, and to hold on to, whatever it is you're doing, and to keep going, because it gets hard. It gets really, really hard sometimes. Some days you don't feel like doing it, and so when you have your why, and when you hold on to your faith and those two things, you become unstoppable. You become unstoppable.
Yeah, and I totally believe that. That is so true. Sometimes there's just a clearing for you all of a sudden, and it may seem like rejection, but really it was just God clearing the way for you to do what you're supposed to be doing instead of what you were doing.
Yes, I love that. Clearing the way. Yes, yes, yes.
Awesome. What's your third one?
Oh, I thought I gave 3. Okay, hold on. It was belief.
I can't count. Maybe you did.
Yes. So belief, self-care, and then understanding and knowing your why, and tying that into faith.
You did it. You get an A for the day.
Thank you.
Well, where can people reach you on social media? I'm sure they're going to be coming to you in the droves after this podcast.
Absolutely. Thank you. So I can be found everywhere at Moms in Charge, no I, everywhere on social media. If you want to connect, and if you need assistance with your strategy and your social media management, my business is Purpose Driven Media. And we're on Facebook at Purpose Driven Media Group, and on Twitter at PD Media Group. And for that checklist that we were talking about earlier, you can go to bit.ly/final mom list, and you can download that there.
And the planner again as well?
And the planner, yes. The planner, you can go to whoshoesbook.com to get it, and You'll see the link right there.
Well, thank you so much. I have thoroughly enjoyed meeting you, talking to you, and just sharing today.
It has been an honor. Thank you so much for reaching out and being patient with me while I didn't see your message initially. I'm so grateful that you reached out. I'm honored that you reached out, and I had a lovely time here. So thank you so much. I can't wait to share with my audience the amazing work that you're doing as well.
Awesome. Thank you guys for listening to the Sisterhood of Sweat.